Hey everybody, Paul and Amy here, and welcome to this special edition, a Thursday night edition of the DVC Show. I am Paul Krieger, of course, and I'm joined tonight by the one and only my lovely wife, Amy Krieger. And it's been a week, I'd say.
Yeah, it's been some news happening.
Been quite a more eventful week than I anticipated. I thought it would be just sort of a fun-filled Halloween week of talking about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and getting ready for that, and
annual
passes on sale. But DVC had other plans for all of us. So that is why we are coming to you live tonight on Thursday to talk about all of the exciting DVC news. News we expected, news we didn't quite expect, news that probably was put out there to change the news narrative a little bit because of some of the stuff that we've heard over the past few days. But thank you all for joining us tonight. For those of you asking, Pete, Panda, the rest of the crew, they are actually on a cruise at the moment. So they are in the middle of the ocean, but we knew that a lot of you were asking questions about everything that was happening with DVC. And so we decided to jump on tonight and talk to you all about it. This show tonight will actually be in replacement of next Monday's show because Pete and the team are actually just getting off of a cruise ship and they're actually headed to film some exciting room tours for everyone. So we'll be sharing all of that content over on dvcfan.com really soon. So this is kind of our Monday show for those of you that sort of wait for a Monday show every week.
And I just noticed that Odie is like chomping away in the background on we had to give them both like those end bones so they won't bother us.
He is living his best dog life before he becomes a doggy DVC member here next year, which we'll get to more of that later. As always, if you do love everything that we do here at DVC Fan, please show some love for our sponsors over at the World of DVC. DVC Resale Market, if you're looking to buy or sell a Disney Vacation Club contract, getting to selling, if you have a Grand Californian contract, now is the time to sell. We'll get to more of that later, but DVCResaleMarket.com, they'll help you with that. Monera Financial, where they will help you finance that purchase of a Disney Vacation Club contract. And then, of course, DVC Rental Store, where if you're looking to try before you buy, rent some points, rent out your own points, you can do that with the DVC Rental Store. So please show some love for our sponsors over at the World of DVC. I think I've done it all that I needed to start with. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
We will be taking your comments throughout the evening, so please put those comments in the comment box or whatever it is, and we'll try to get to them as they come through. We are going to try to go in a little bit of an order throughout the evening, though, just to keep things organized. And I think the first thing to really start with is the news that just dropped today.
Yeah, and I did not see this coming at all.
I don't think any of us actually did, but boy, oh boy, was it exciting when it was announced. So Disney's Fort Wilderness Cabins are becoming a Disney Vacation Club property. We got this news right around 10 a.m. this morning, and kind of came out of the blue. You know, we didn't really have a new DVC on our radar at the moment.
No, and what's really, really interesting about this is that Fort Wilderness is not a deluxe resort, right? Yeah. So we're now starting to see DVC kind of creep into, I don't know if you would consider it more of a moderate. It's kind of like in the other category, but we're seeing DVC creep into other areas, and so that has to leave you asking yourself, what's next? What's after this? Are we going to see Coronado Springs, Port Orleans? It's not great news for those that go and pay cash at the hotels because they are going to be losing this inventory. Obviously, they'll still be able to pay cash, but it's going to be a different, it's going to be a different scenario. But for DVC members, I think this is really, really exciting news where, they're looking to kind of play to different tastes. And even if Fort Wilderness is not your thing, there's so many people out there that are really excited about this. I love Fort Wilderness. The trails, I like getting on the bus and hearing banjo music and hoop-de-doo. There's just so much over there to like. I do. I played in a bluegrass band in high school, so I like the sound of a banjo. And when you get on those buses, that's what you hear.
I like the sound of a banjo.
I'm excited by it. And, we've had this question asked a lot. Is there any DVC resort where I can bring my dog? And this has always been a flat, absolutely not. And we're not really big on traveling with our dogs. They're kind of a handful. But, this is kind of exciting, especially as locals, that some of these cabins will be dog friendly.
Yep.
And that will mean that, you can bring your dog on a Disney trip. That's kind of a neat thing for DVC members. Now, if you're not into dogs and you still want to buy here, it's probably going to be very similar to what is going on at the Yacht Club, Art of Animation, and Riverside, where there are rooms that are specially designated that are dog-friendly rooms, and then there's rooms that are not. So if you have an allergy situation or something like that, you don't have to worry that you're going to be in a room that's had dogs in the past.
Yep. And so let's get to some of the details that were dropped with this news today. So the one big detail, of course, was the concept art that was revealed about these cabins. You're going to notice very quickly that it looks a whole lot different than the current cabins at Fort Wilderness. And that's because they're basically going to deck every single one of those cabins. So they are going to use the existing cabin footprints. The news that came out today said around 350. According to my count, there's currently around 363 cabins.
406.
Okay, I was way off. Or different sites have different information. Who knows?
I found 406.
There's definitely more than 350 existing cabins that are out there. And so it'll be interesting to see, do they revert them all to DVC? Do they have maybe this small supply that they actually keep within Fort Wilderness for people to actually just book via cash?
And we could end up with them taking some of the space for new amenities. It does say that they're planning on doing walking trail enhancements, swimming pool enhancements, and dining enhancements. They specifically in the dining mentioned Trails End and Crockett's Tavern, so possibly turning those into something else. So there's going to be changes. It's interesting you said they're going to deck the old cabins. I don't think that they don't bulldoze them.
No.
So the last ones they actually sold off. So if you are really bummed out about these cabins going away, they have sold them last time. There's people living in the old ones in like a nature camp in Florida somewhere, but that's always kind of interesting. You could buy one.
You mentioned before, dog friendly, super exciting for us. We've always just wanted our dogs to be able to go with us to Disney at least for a day. Like Amy said, more than that, probably going to be too much of a handful. We can only give them so many of these end bones that they're currently chewing on.
2 days is long enough for us.
Yeah, 2 days is probably the max. The cabins are going to sleep up to 6 individuals, and that's kind of a nice new sweet spot, I feel like, in between what we currently see with some accommodations. A little bit more than a studio, kind of pushes us into that 1 bedroom, not quite the 2 bedroom range, but it's kind of a nice number that people are going to get into in these cabins.
And it's going to be a similar configuration to what they have now. So there's a living room that is going to have some sort of like sofa bed or hopefully a Murphy bed. And then there's a bedroom that's going to have, either 2 beds or a bed and a bunk bed situation, which is what they had last time. So we're not really sure what that's going to be. But 6 is, I would look at it as like staying in a 1 bedroom, or staying in a large studio. And I think the point charts are going to be reflective of that, reflective of more of like maybe a 1 bedroom type, because these were never really very expensive as far as cabins go. You're not going to be paying Copper Creek cabin prices, Polynesian bungalow prices. And so we would hope that the point charts are gonna match that, and that's gonna be huge. What these point charts look like, because if you think about it, they're gonna be selling points in this resort. If the point charts end up being too high for most people, kind of like the Copper Creek cabins are, then that's gonna make people use those points elsewhere, make maybe studios a little harder to get at the 7-month window. If the point charts here are reasonable, which is what we're expecting, it's going to be great, a great option for a lot of members.
Yeah, for sure. Additional information, these are opening in 2024, so they're not messing around here. They're going to get working on these very quickly. We don't actually have a estimated date in 2024. I'm guessing probably the latter part of the year. They're coming along very quickly with the Polynesian Tower, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe that actually creep up a little bit on the schedule rather than being towards the end of 2024. We see them move that up on the schedule. They still have a long ways to go, though, so these both could push into 2024. Or we could even see the Poly Tower maybe pushed to 2025. But current announcement opening in 2024. A curious note, I saw some people over on Disboards talking about. They specifically called out that this was the 17th DVC property in sort of the information that they provided. And of course, the conspiracy theorists that we like to read into that a little bit too much. And so if this were to open after the Poly Tower, then that would potentially mean that the Poly Tower is part of the existing Polynesian Association.
Because Disneyland would be 16.
Yep.
And Fort Wilderness would be 17.
So do with that as you wish.
Yeah.
I don't have any... people have been speculating. Yes, Amy and I we just closed on our 175-point purchase at the Polynesian. We just added on at the Poly. We're super excited about it. No, we have absolutely no information about what is going on. If I had information, I would be chomping at the bit to share it with every single one of you. So there's no chance where we have any inside information or anything like that. We are just taking and buying points that we think make the most sense for us at this present time.
Based on expiration date, annual dues.
We stay in studios. Yeah, we're studio people, so it just makes the most sense for us. Additional stuff that I just wrote down here. I wrote RIP Reflections with my notes. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. So they're not actually taking the land of Reflections and putting these cabins on it. So that land still exists. The question that you raised earlier, though, is would we maybe see some new amenities to add to the resort area that would take up some of that land? My mind probably goes to we're still going to see that land used, but that has been pushed way down the pike at this point. You know, it is not going to happen immediately after these cabins go on sale. There's going to be more DVCs. I think we come back to it eventually. It's not going to be Reflections. It will definitely be a new concept or something. They very rarely do they.
I just want that path to open. So we walked over to it from Copper Creek area, and it is just overgrown. Like it does not look like it's happening anytime soon, but yeah.
Yep, for sure. So Reflections, I'm sorry if you were a Reflection lover. I don't know that it's happening. I think this is kind of the end of that discussion. Point charts. We talked about this a little bit. They have to make these affordable if they are going to sell. And when we actually look at point charts, and I pulled this up today specifically for the conversation, if we look at these, this is currently the Disney Collection Exchange point chart. So again, this is if you were to take your points and use them at Fort Wilderness Cabins currently. Now, we know that this is not a good use of your points historically, but we can get maybe a little bit of a gauge of what this looks like. So on the low season, the cabins are 38 points. High season, Christmas time, that's going to move that up to 67 points, but almost a reasonable sort of point chart there.
Yeah, for the Disney Collection, which is always like an overinflated point chart, is actually really good. And I was trying to find a different resort to kind of compare. I know that you had pulled up a moderate resort.
Yeah, so I also pulled up Coronado Springs as just an example of some point charts here. Again, if we're using it as an idea of a moderate property, we don't know. I've seen a couple questions in the comments and stuff like that of is this going to elevate the cabins at Fort Wilderness into a a deluxe level accommodation? Are you going to get those same deluxe level benefits? I would have to assume as a DVC member, you should, but we just don't have that information at this time. Literally just one piece of concept art and a lot of speculation. But if we use the moderate level point charts as an example, we're ranging anywhere from 23 to 47 points over the course of the year. So I think this is going to be that sweet spot that they need to make these charts appear in, because if they price these higher, if they try to make these Copper Creek cabin prices, no one's going to buy them.
Yeah, who would buy Copper Creek just for the cabins? Only people who can buy a lot of points. You know what I mean? Because 100-something points a night, that's not the typical DVC consumer. It's just not.
Yeah, and I imagine that they've already thought through that. So I think we're going to see these. I also read over on Disboards, some people speculating about maybe they'll sell these points for a lower price per point. I would probably see them more so keep the price per point the same, but drop the point charts and make these more accessible, because I think Disney's really struggling to fill some of these moderate to moderate premium level accommodations. They fill up the All-Stars pretty good. They fill up some of these moderate level accommodations pretty good, but some of the more premium resorts they struggle with. And so they're quickly realizing that Disney Vacation Club is an easy way to get bodies in these rooms and get people to commit to 50 years of vacations in them. So,
and DVC is always booked. So you're right. You're always going to have people in those rooms coming onto property, spending their money on property, paying those maintenance fees to maintain that resort. So that's why we're going to probably continue to see a lot of flips into DVC. And I'm hoping that we get some other resorts that a lot of us are waiting for, maybe Yacht Club, something like that.
Kristen asked in the comments, they just closed down the sit-down restaurant at Fort Wilderness. Will they build a new restaurant? No news on a new restaurant just yet. The press release today did mention that they were going to enhance some of the existing...
They specifically did mention Trails End and Crockett's Tavern as on the board for enhancements. So basically, it sounds like they're going to be changed into something.
Yep.
Something that's probably going to appeal to make people want to buy DVC points over there. And they have been doing a lot over there. So Paul and I just went to Hoop-de-Doo just a few weeks ago, right? And we were really, really surprised to see just the atmosphere was really neat over there. We walked along, near the water. They had food trucks out. A lot of them were Disney food trucks, but there was like a Wetzel's Pretzels and a dessert one. And so they're kind of trying to bring options and things into that resort also. So it has some cool things going for it. There's a dog park, there's lots of playgrounds and walking trails. But I think in order to pull in DVC members, they are going to have to enhance the amenities that are there.
Yep. Just don't touch Hoop-de-Doo. That's all I care about. Don't touch Hoop-de-Doo whatsoever. Just how many amenities can they add in 1 year? Good question. I have no idea. If they're going... part of me actually wonders if this has been in the works for a while, and this is just a part of Bob Iger restoring the power to people like Bill Dirksen to make these decisions and make these projects move quicker. And so you have to ask yourselves, were things on the back burner, and now that Bill, as the senior vice president of Disney Vacation Club, he's responsible for the success of that. If he says, "Hey, let's build this. This is what's going to make us money," then they're all in. They're gonna go ahead and move through that.
That Poly Tower is going up quick.
It is, yeah. We were just there. We took some pictures the other night. It's just crazy to see absolutely how quickly they are moving through those. So. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to throw those in the comments, and we will answer as many as we can. Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is just going to be a great Disney World addition to the Disney Vacation Club lineup, and I think we're going to get to some other news later today that I know has been a little bit more controversial. A lot of people have mixed feelings about it, but I think the big takeaway with all of this that we have to sort of take on is that this is exciting for Disney Vacation Club. If you are a DVC member and you are not remotely excited about any of this stuff that has come out this past week, then it might be time to sell your contract. I don't know. It's exciting that we see them investing in the program. It's exciting that we see benefits like annual passes returning. We're seeing more and more membership magic events come into the program. There's just so much to be excited about, and it really takes us back to when we first joined, and why we joined in the first place is because there's just so much magic around this community, around everything that we are doing as Disney Vacation Club members, and what they are doing for us in return as well. Kristen Rice, I believe someone in the comments is talking about they should include a golf cart as part of membership. That'd be great.
Do you want to pay for annual dues and golf cart?
Yeah, golf cart annual dues.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be part of the experience.
Annual dues could be something that
Golf
might be
cart
interesting. Annual dues might be interesting here only because the resort relies on buses similar to Old Key West. And so I think we will see an elevated transportation budget for this resort. And so who knows?
But you'll get boat transportation to Magic Kingdom, so that's also a plus. I love the idea of the cabins because you don't share a wall with people. And as much as we love DVC resorts, there are some nights where it's like, okay, I can hear toilets flushing and people going down the hallways and stuff like that. And I'm really excited to just get away and stay in a cabin that is not sharing walls with other guests. I don't know.
Amy does not like it when you use the toilet at 2 a.m.
Do not flush that toilet. No. I can hear it.
We did have a question. Maria did ask, yes, opening in 2024. That is the announcement at this time. Whether it's before Polynesian or after, we don't know the answer to that question just yet. So more on that coming very, very soon. Johnny, the $1 million question. Do you think the Fort Wilderness Cabins will have resale restrictions? My answer at this point in time is 100% yes. It sounds like right now they are doubling down on that. We're going to get into the Disneyland Tower here in just a couple minutes. But we know from the Disneyland Tower, we know from Riviera, it doesn't seem like this is something going away.
Yeah, it's the fact that like they need a reason to push you to buy direct. So, okay, let's throw these new resorts out there. And if you're not buying direct, you're buying resale at the original 15 resorts, then is it 15, 14 because Riviera's 15, then you're going to be out. So, for us, it doesn't matter because we have enough grandfathered in points that we'll be able to mix and match and use them. But it's going to make some of you stop and think, okay, maybe I need some direct points. Even if I don't want to buy into Fort Wilderness, maybe I need some direct points in case I want the option to later down the line. So I do think we are going to continue to see those. The only one that's really up in the air is going to be the Polynesian, because if it becomes part of the current association, then it's going to fall into the same, with the same what Poly does, just like Grand Floridian.
Yep. What else we have here?
Try 4:45 a.m. alarm.
I'm with Christine here. This is very exciting. I've always wanted to experience the Halloween and Christmas decor options. If you've never been to Fort Wilderness during those Halloween seasons and stuff like that, people decorate their golf carts, people decorate their cabins, people decorate their campers.
I think there's trick or treat at Halloween. There's there's parades. It actually gets shut down to where if you're not staying there, you can't be there. So this is kind of interesting. I think that this is going to be like the booking 4th of July in the theme park view at Bay Lake Tower, where booking Halloween at Fort Wilderness Cabin for DVC is going to be competitive.
You could almost see them bring back that priority wait list that they used to have back in the phone call days. That was something to behold, and it was for special booking seasons and stuff like that. So we're super excited by this. I think that's about all there is to cover about this news that just crept up on us today. But moving on, we do have even more news that dropped this week. If that wasn't enough for you, we started off the week with a big one, which was the fact that Sales for the villas at Disneyland Hotel begin on May 2nd. So we did finally get the information that a lot of us have been waiting for, which is that the Disneyland Hotel is beginning sales on May 2nd for existing members looking to add on points, and then May 30th for those new members looking to purchase points. We also found out that price per point is going to be $230 per point. I think if we look back in these shows about a year, we said $300 at that time, so we were way off.
I want to say that there is one show where I said $230. I'm gonna dig it up because I remembered it in the car the other day. But anyway, this is the price before incentives. Yep. We do expect there to be incentives, especially for the new members. Those typically, not new members, but for existing members first. Those typically tend to be the best ones. With Grand Floridian, it was the first opening existing member incentives that were some of the best ones. And then the buy-in minimum for existing members is going to be 50 points. And we're assuming that it's going to be 100 for non-existing members, since that is just the general minimum buy-in right now. That's not the minimum buy-in for the perks. That is still 150. But Disney did kind of quietly shift the minimum buy-in that you have to buy in as a new member to 100, even though you can't get perks at that number.
Yep. I think one of the surprising things that came out of the news this week were the point charts. I was pleasantly surprised as to sort of where the Disneyland Hotel Tower point charts actually ended up. They kind of are in line with where Grand Californian is. In terms of the price per night and things like that. Duo studios ranging anywhere from 13 to 25 points per night. Deluxe studios 17 to 34. Those unique garden studios, so those are that separate building that's right beside the pool that they've put in, 24 to 41 points per night. We did expect those to be elevated because the cash cost was actually elevated.
Yeah.
And then those grand villas, 120 to 200 points per night. Any shocks from you on the point chart?
No, it was way better than what I expected, and I think it's very obtainable, but, obviously there are other factors now instead of point charts that is going to make or break your decision to either stay there or buy in there, but we're going to talk about that pretty soon.
We can go there. Evan's already asking, is the tax per point used confirmed or a rumor? And unfortunately, Evan, this is a confirmed aspect of things. And it has been something that I think has been all over the place, both on DVC Fan and the boards, in terms of what is this tax, what is it for, and all of that. So to dive in a little bit further into what this tax is and everything, this is a transient use tax. So essentially, anyone that stays in a hotel in Anaheim, California is paying this tax, and I do believe it is a 15% tax rate at the current going.
And to give you some perspective, because Alani currently does have also the transient tax that you pay out in cash, aside from your points. Oahu is 3%. Is the transient tax there. So the city of Anaheim is 15, Oahu is 3%. So that is some of the differences that you see between Alani and Disneyland. But yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt your thought, sorry.
No, I'm just over here just trying to stay up with chat and everything else going on at the same time.
Okay.
You can keep going.
So some other things to think about if you are thinking about buying in here. I know that is probably going to change. This is changing a lot of people's decision. And for us, I completely get it. This is how we felt too. We actually bought in Grand Cal. A lot of you know that last year, and we decided to forgo purchasing at the Disneyland Tower, even though when those pictures started coming out, I was starting to really think that maybe we had made the wrong decision. And currently as it stands, and we'll talk about Grand Cal versus Disneyland Tower a little bit more in depth in a little bit here, but currently Grand Cal owners pay that transient tax. They have always paid it as part of their annual dues. So it's about, it's like 503 is it 33, yeah, which is around 51 cents per point. Grand Cal owners do pay that regardless of how they use their points. So Paul and I pay that transient tax regardless. If like we couldn't use our points this year, we actually rented them out, so the guests that stayed on our reservation, they did not pay a transient tax because we pay those as part of our dues. So regardless of where we're using those points, Grand Cal owners are paying it, but it is significantly less, right? 50 cents a point, and most Grand Cal owners are going to be using their points at Grand Cal. So it is a little bit of a better deal, definitely a better deal for us, right now. For Disneyland, the villas at Disneyland Hotel, this is going to be treated the same as Aulani, where this tax is imposed when you stay there. So when you're using your points, it's been broken down as a per point cost. And then there are also charts that show you what it looks like per night. And Paul, the starting is $2, and do you remember?
Of what?
The transient tax.
$2.73.
Right now it's $2.73 per point. And that is the 2023 price. Now, some of you guys have been throwing out a 280, like 287. That I believe is 2024.
Yeah.
And so as you notice, it has gone up. And that is something that you might want to keep in mind if you are thinking about purchasing here, is that it is not dictated by Disney. This is dictated by the city of Anaheim, this price, and it can increase. And Aulani's transient tax has increased double since 2016. So that is just something to keep in mind, just to be cognizant of. Now, if we'd like to use our points to stay here, I'm really hoping that we can actually, get rid of our cash day and use points, because we still are going to be ahead by using our points and paying that transient tax than we are paying what we currently have getting ready to pay in cash. So I know it's a lot. I know it seems like a hard hit, and it's an optics thing, right? Because DVC members like getting that hotel folio at the end of their stay, and it says 0. Like, that's what we're used to. That's what we like.
Pete has talked about it time and time again on the shows about, that bill shows up or that email shows up, you open it up and it says 0, and it kind of gives you that good feeling at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And this is going to change that.
It is. And it is an optics. If you do break down the price and you say, okay, I'm going to own this for 50 years, I'm going to use it for 50 years, I'm going to have, 100 points, 50 years, the dues, even with the dues going up, even with the transient tax, you still are going to be paying less than if you were booking cash.
Totally.
And people are still paying this transient tax when they book cash. It's just baked into the hotel nightly cost. But I totally get it. Like, it is a deterrent for a lot of people, and it's probably going to be a deterrent for us. We might want to think twice, maybe stay at Grand Cal more often, but I do want to try it out.
Yeah. And I think just to clear up some misinformation that I know has been out there in various places, this is not a state of California thing. This is not a Disney thing or a Disney Vacation Club thing. This is strictly the city of Anaheim and a tax that it basically charges for all hotel occupancy throughout the city. It is actually the biggest revenue driver for the city of Anaheim, is all of the hotels have this transient tax. Now, doing some digging, one question that we're getting a lot is, why is Grand Cal so less, even being built in as compared to the Disneyland Hotel? And that's one that, as much as we've dug around, I don't have an 100% answer to that. One thing that I look at, though, is back in 2018, Disneyland was planning to do a 700-room premium deluxe hotel property in the entire downtown Disney area. And that project got under fire, a lot of controversy surrounding it, because the city of Anaheim previously had agreed to doing a lot of tax breaks for Disney to build that hotel, and for several other developers, I believe, as well, to build those hotels. And good old Josh D'Amaro, who was actually the president of, I believe, Disneyland at that time, They made the decision to go to the city of Anaheim and basically say, hey, we don't want these tax breaks anymore. We're going to play fairly just like everyone else. And so there's always been this back and forth relationship between the government in the city of Anaheim and Disneyland. And it's up and it's down and it's left and it's right. But I wonder if maybe Grand Cal is locked in under some previous tax breaks that they received back in the day. And now the new tower and any new construction is going to actually have that full 15 or whatever they would potentially raise it to in the future. They actually recently were even considering a ticket tax of like 2% on all tickets as another revenue driver in the city of Anaheim. So these are all ways that the city is actually generating revenue. So it's not something that Disney's doing to you or trying to cover up in any way. I think if they could hide this, they definitely will. I'm pretty sure today they hit it with the news of the Fort Wilderness Cabins, because it was kind of getting a little out of hand with just people are very upset about this. It's changed the minds of a lot of people looking to purchase the villas at Disneyland Hotel. We've run 2 polls, one that was actually done slightly before this information dropped, and then one that we put on Disboards right thereafter. And about 80% of respondents in both polls are saying that they are not going to purchase at the villas at Disneyland Hotel. And that is probably not the news that Disney wants to hear.
Yeah, and I already thought, I know the general consensus from a lot of people is this is going to sell out fast, this is going to be really popular, and I have no doubt that there are a lot of people very excited and still excited about it. But there were multiple things that made me think that this was not going to sell out as fast as people thought, and one of them was the fact that the studios only sleep 4, and a majority of DVC members do stay in studios. That is, a majority of people. That's what Paul and I do. A lot of us are just very conservative with our points and how we use our points. And so that is a deal breaker for a lot of families who have, 5 people that typically stay in studios, that they can't do that at this resort. The other one is that the inventory on anything that's not a studio, with the exception of duo studios, those are okay, but they'll only sleep 2. The inventory of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and then Grand Villas, there's only 2 of them. That is so minute. Like, that's such a small amount of the inventory that if that is the category that you have to book, and it's going to be a challenge every single time as an owner to book there, you might not want to buy points there. So those are things that I thought might be a little bit of a deterrent. The price, I think, came in per point as better than a lot of people thought it was going to, because people were, 300 a point, or, especially compared to Grand Cal, which is still expensive, but kind of came down on the resale market. But yeah, now we throw in the whole transient tax, and it's gonna deter some people. Yep. So I am worried about how well it's gonna sell, and how that's gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, we go back to when Grand Cal actually was sold. You can talk to Derek over at DVC Resale Market. He's one of the agents that says this the most, but they struggled very much with selling that property. So much so that DVC was offering guides at the time. I think they were offering them like flat screen TVs. They had so many incentives to try to get Grand Cal to sell, because it just struggled and it struggled. And not for these reasons that we're talking about today. It's just there wasn't as much interest in that property at the time. It was a newer concept. Disney Vacation Club was probably half of what it was today. But they even got to, I think, a point where they were offering an incentive of like 50 cents per point to guides to sell that property. So at this time, I just can't see Disneyland Tower not having some of the same issues. And maybe this is part of a larger plan with Disney Vacation Club. We've got the news of Fort Wilderness now. I mean, there's going to be so many properties available at once that you can choose from. You're going to have a buffet of options.
It used to be limit the choices, because the less people have to think about, the more likely they are to buy sooner, like not take their time, not leave the sales room to take their time. But maybe you're right. Maybe this is like, hey, let's have all these options. Maybe they'll buy more than one option. Maybe it's a different strategy, and they have been doing different strategies. We've seen that with the open houses. We've seen that with the virtual guides. So things are definitely changing.
Yep. Michael here in the comments hit on a question that we actually had planned to address. Paul and Amy, do you think resale prices at Grand Cal will now increase significantly due to the recent news from the villas at Disneyland Hotel? Well, let me show you something that I've got pulled up on the other screen right now. This is a live look at dvcresalemarket.com. If you were looking for a Grand Californian listing over at DVC Resale Market, there are none. And that is not because there weren't any. It's because they all sold yesterday and the day before with the news that was dropping. And so if you are a Grand Californian owner, the average resale price has skyrocketed this week. People are buying up Grand Californian left and right because they don't want to have to deal with that transient tax. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have to deal with some of these other rumors. We've heard this rumor of having to pay for parking as well. I've not confirmed that or been able to figure out where that's come from. If anyone has any ideas on that, please go ahead and put it in the chat if you've talked to a guide about that. I've not been able to personally verify about paying for parking, but again, that's just another negative against Disneyland Hotel. And so Grand Californian's selling like crazy. So if you've been sitting on a Grand Cal contract and been thinking about selling, now is the time to do so. Go to dvcresalemarket.com. Contact one of their agents and get that listed. I believe they've already updated some of the tools in terms of estimating the cost of what a Grand Cal contract would sell for, just based off of all this news. We think that Grand Cal is going to skyrocket. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if we see it sort of move back up into that $300 per point range that it was in several months ago.
Yeah, so it was closer to like the 290s, 300, and then it had come down into like the 260s, even as low as 240s on average recently with some of the decreases in pricing. We are starting to see the market kind of stabilize a little bit and slowly come back up. We're starting to see sellers be a little less lenient on their negotiations, offering a little higher counter offers and things like that. So I would expect to see Grand Cal prices to come back up. Some. But yeah, it's interesting. And we love the Disneyland Tower. Like, it looks fantastic. I'm so excited to stay there. I think that the colors and the theming is very beautiful. It's a great hotel. We don't want to ditch on the hotel at all because it's going to be an awesome, to have this addition, to have this inventory at Disneyland for DVC members. The transient tax is unfortunate, but it's not something that we believe is really within, it's not within DVC's control. I'm sure this is not what they wanted it to look like. I'm sure that they knew that this was going to cause some issues with selling. But unfortunately, it is what it is. So, do the math, decide for you over a period of time if it's worth it, because in the long run, there are numbers that can make sense. It just depends.
Jeff said, my guide said no decision has been made on parking. Again, I think this is just all speculation based off of reading between the lines, like we alluded to earlier with the Poly Tower and it, not being number 17, or in terms of the number of DVC properties. So it's all of us are just sort of speculating all over the place as to what these things are.
I can't see why parking would be additional, why it wouldn't be part of the maintenance of the so the annual dues for the Disneyland Tower are $9.06 a point, which is over $1 more than Grand Cal, but Grand Cal is such a small unit. Grand Cal is like 23 studios and 23 one bedrooms and like it's tiny when you compare it to how big this tower at Disneyland is going to be. And so, and they're adding an additional swimming pool, correct, for the Disneyland Tower?
They are.
Whereas Grand Cal doesn't really have a separate swimming pool. They do have.
It has a pool.
It's two, right? But
it's very crazy at all times from our experience. Oh my goodness,
yeah. But, Grand Cal needs another pool. It is crazy.
We got a question. If Disney ever decided to expand Grand Cal, would that cause its owners to get this higher tax? Remains to be seen. Again, I'm kind of speculating on what caused that tax to increase so exponentially with the Disneyland Tower. So that's still sort of just something that's a bit of an assumption on this part. It could increase in annual dues. I also don't know, could they legally make the same decision with Grand Cal pull it out of the dues and make it a transient tax for the occupant?
So I reached out and I asked multiple guides this question. I was given the same response from each of them, was that they would do some digging, and they would email me back with a response. And that was a couple days ago. I don't think I'm going to get a response. So I think that, you know, these are things that are like deep embedded legally somewhere that somebody knows the answer to. Unfortunately, it's not very publicly available and easy to find. And it's not something that even just asking your guide, because I've asked multiple different guides, and neither of them has been able to come up and produce a response. Now, we had no indication that, you know, even before Disneyland Tower, you know, existed or was going to exist, that Grand Cal's situation in terms of transient taxes would ever change. Like, there was never anything that has led anyone to believe that that would ever become an issue.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that it continues to be that way, that we are just, you know, this hotel is just grandfathered into whatever was agreed upon back when, whatever the political climate was back when it was opened. And that's how it's going to stay.
Yep.
Checking on my dog.
Yep. We had someone actually, Layla said, I can't help but wonder if Disney doesn't want to sell out quickly. They still haven't sold all of Riviera, but a lot of guests stay on cash at crazy cash rates. Probably I was a sucker, and I purchased 2 nights at $900 a night for us to get there.
I hope we can find some points.
I hope we can get there on points, because you know, it is rather expensive, but you have to wonder that's what they do with all of those points that are not currently in inventory. They actually go ahead and rent them out as cash stays. And that's been a question that also has circulated a little bit, I know, on DVCfan.com, is in the state of California, how much legally are they allowed to hold back in inventory? So we know here in Florida that the 2% rule is in effect. So DVC has to retain 2% of all the points being sold in a given villa. But California is a little bit more vague. And
it's not vague. It's a mathematical equation that I'm not smart enough to figure out.
So you did some deep diving into the Anaheim...
it was the California
timeshare laws. Mm-hmm. And we were able to find this little gem, which basically talks about the rental of units in a timeshare property. And this example is fun for all of you spreadsheet people out there. We've not had time to really dig into it. But for example, if a developer owns or controls 1,000 timeshare periods in a particular season out of a total of 4,000 timeshare periods available during the season, then developer may not hold out for rental to the public during any applicable priority reservation period more than 250 timeshare periods on that given day. During that season, I had to stand up. And then it gives you the math that comes up with all of that. So this reminds me of like one of those questions.
It's the sentence before that talks about the numerator and the denominator. I'm done.
This is one of those questions on like the SATs that I just skipped in most cases. So if anyone out there in chat wants to sort of dive into that and figure out what percentage that might actually be, then we should have that answer here within the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. But again, it is a little bit more vague in the state of California as to what that is. They still legally are allowed to do it, so they are going to retain some of those points. And to Layla's question earlier, I definitely think that they just want to retain some of this for cash sales as long as possible. I think that's going to be a goal with the Fort Wilderness cabins as well. Those cabins sell out like crazy. They've never really had an issue selling.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of surprised. So Grand Floridian, that was an easy decision for them, because the hotel side of the Grand Floridian actually does not sell that well because it's expensive and it kind of needed a refurb. And even talking to like Elaine Edwards, right? She sees a lot of what's selling. She's the one booking a lot of these trips. She has said to us, Yacht Club does not sell like Beach Club does. Grand Floridian does not sell like the Polynesian does. And I asked her today, actually, I said, how do the cabins at Fort Wilderness sell? Is this a Grand Floridian where they want to flip it to DVC because it doesn't sell well? And she said, no, they're almost always booked. And I know I've talked to people who contact Monera who want to become DVC members because they love Fort Wilderness, but they can't get into the campsites You know, it's so hard to get an RV campsite. They sell out, you know, I don't know how far in advance, but very far in advance. And so the cabins are the same, you know, because they have been an economical option for people who want to fit that many people in a space. And so that's why I was very surprised that they're going to be flipping this into DVC. But to the point of, was it Layla?
Yep.
Layla, maybe you're right. They can still sell these as cash, and they're gonna look kind of cool. I know that some people are like, you know, they're just manufactured. They're just moving, you know, sitting them there, and they've got like that shipping container look to them.
I can't wait to see one of these things rolling down I-4.
I think it looks so cool, though. I love the concept art. I don't know.
Well, and a lot of people have said it's going to be like the glamping life of Disney Vacation Club. And also it almost has some of those like, they're now making like container homes now, or like the tiny homes and stuff like that.
I think those are so cool.
Yeah, they're
I don't
sweet.
want to stay in a tent. Like, that ship has sailed. I was a Girl Scout for 10 years when I was a kid. I do not want to camp in a tent anymore.
Yeah.
But this looks nice.
And Allison sort of said it as well. They already have a loyal base at the cabins. It's going to be an easy sell for these people. The people that go to the cabins year after year after year. So you tell them to sign up for a 50-year contract where they know that they're going to get their cabin year after year after year, and sign them up. I would almost argue that we may see a new record for guaranteed weeks being sold for a Disney Vacation Club property. At the
Halloween week, Christmas week. Yeah, I can see that.
Yep, it's definitely going to be an easy seller. Before we fully wrap up the transient tax conversation, I did want to throw over to DVC Resale Market one more time. I know David Mumpower, wonderful writer, and I know he watches some of our videos and stuff like that. So he actually put together an article over on DVC Resale Market that talks all about what a transient tax is that Disney just announced. As we've discussed tonight, you know, we can relate it to Alani. It is wrapped into Grand Cal as well. But David did a great job over here as to just give a little bit of a deep dive into what we know about transient tax, what it is, and all of that. So head over to dvcresalemarket.com if you want to read more about the transient tax conversation. So ask your questions in the comments below. We'll keep sort of answering your questions for the next 10 to 15 minutes here before we wrap up tonight. But all in all, again, I just want to go back to the fact that it has been a whirlwind of a week when it comes to Disney Vacation Club, and it just makes me be excited to be a member. We're headed up this weekend. We're going to stay at Grand Floridian for 2 nights for my birthday, and I just am very excited to be a DVC member and stay on property and be a part of this community. And a lot of that excitement is due to all of you that watch these videos, that interact with us on DVC Fan and at a variety of other places. You know, you all are what really make this fun and what make this community so special. So again, just a huge thank you to all of you. Let's see, what other questions do we have coming in tonight?
I feel like that is behind.
My question, it's just a couple seconds behind. So
yeah,
like Maria's happy birthday didn't come up yet, but there it is. So it's just a couple seconds behind, but it comes up very quickly. Let's see. What kind of opening sale price reductions do we suspect? Aaron asks. I assume for the Disneyland Tower. 2 things that I will actually throw out there as assumptions. I think that $230 per point is a good starting place. I'm not going to be surprised if we see Riviera and Grand Floridian come up to that rate when it actually goes on sale. I've said that for a period of time that, you know, I think it's easier for them to sell at one base price point and then incentivize down to the levels that they want those to sell at. So Pete actually just shared with me some information that he received on the cruise ship the other day, speculating to the same, that Riviera was going to see a price increase. So I would very much expect that we see this price increase for most properties move up to $230 by the time this goes on sale very soon. And then we see the incentives knock it down from there. But I think that still keeps the Disneyland Hotel as a premium property for the time being. It's really just going to depend on sales. We know that, like you said earlier, the Grand Floridian incentives that they first offered are still some of the best incentives that we saw for the Grand Floridian. So it is worth noting that prices with Disney Vacation Club very rarely get cheaper. They most always go up. And so holding out for maybe trying to get a lower price is not always the best deal unless you're looking to purchase a resale contract. And I can tell you that the Disneyland Hotel on the resale market is probably going to be a steal of a deal. If we look at Riviera as an example, there's a significant decrease in the value of those contracts, and that's related to those resale restrictions. For those
I do
properties.
think there is going to be a little bit of a difference though, because I do think if you purchase Disneyland Tower, you're likely only planning on using those points at Disneyland Tower. The same with Grand Cal, right? Like we wouldn't dare use our Grand Cal points somewhere else. And so if you have that mindset, once these contracts start hitting the resale market, even though you're going to be restricted to just using them at the Disneyland Tower, then it might not be as much of a blow as with Riviera, whereas Riviera is there at Disney World, so you want some flexibility when you use those points. But this is a little bit different. So I don't know that we're going to see it come down on the resale market as low as Riviera has, but it is obviously there's going to be a difference, right, between buying direct. And we saw the first Riviera contracts hit the resale market before Riviera even opened. So I don't know if that was just decisions that got changed or what, but we saw those contracts, points that hadn't even been used yet, and I would expect that we might see some contracts hit the resale market as early as August, or maybe even a little sooner.
Icarus in chat asked, as new properties go live, the inventory goes up during this growth time. Do we think it'll be easier to get rooms? I do believe so, but it comes in waves. It really depends on the declarations that Disney Vacation Club makes. So if we use Grand Floridian again as an example, when it first went on sale, they allocated half of the resort's total point allotment and declared that as Disney Vacation Club inventory. So at that moment, inventory goes up until it goes back down as people buy those points, and then they add the remaining inventory, which I believe they've done already. So all of the Grand Floridian is declared at that time, and that's why it has been a little bit easier to get into one of those resort studios.
Yes, especially when it first opened. We were seeing a lot of people that were having an easy time. There was a special period for members to book, which is the same with Disneyland Tower. Did we talk about those dates?
We briefly sort of breezed by them.
Okay.
Yes, new owners can begin booking on May 16th
for days
starting September 28th, which is the grand opening, and then existing members can begin to book on July 27th. For September 28th or within the 0 to 7 month booking window.
So with Grand Floridian, what we saw was we thought that existing member time period was going to be really important to get in and to try that. And it turned out that a lot of members that did not own there were also able to get in around the same time frames. And so I don't know if that'll happen here. I will tell you though that when the Disneyland Tower was booking cash stays, there was two groups of people, right? There were those that called, heard the cash price, and was like, yeah, no, thank you. So those people are probably going to try to book with points now. And then there's idiots like Paul who heard the cash price, should have said no, thank you, and still booked it. No, I'm just kidding. He's not an idiot. But, we booked it for obvious reasons because we want to be able to cover it. But in a normal world, this is not.
I would never pay that much money.
This is not how much we would spend on a hotel.
I'm still hoping we somehow get.
And then there's get
a room.
So you've got people like us who overpaid, who are also hoping to get in with points. And so I do think we are going to see some of those cash stays drop off as these members are able to secure point reservations. But I'm wondering what the availability is going to be like for those points. Because I got to tell you, as soon as if we can get a stay the opening 2 nights, which is what we have booked with cash, with points, we will drop that cash day like it never happened. Like and transient tax and all is not as much as what we're trying to pay per night. And that's,
Speaking of Disneyland, Robin asks, any thoughts on the new DVC lounge in Disneyland? Seen a bunch of cool pictures and stuff like that. I'll be brutally honest. I've been sort of I've been back holding a bunch of articles that we have. We've had a lot of people share pictures with us. We're going to share those over on dvcfan.com in the coming week or so. But there's just been so much news, and I know that there's only so much news that we as people can digest. So I've just been trying to pace it out there to people, but it looks very, very neat. I saw someone mention it's got a very cool like custom coffee machine so that you can like press a button and get, you know, Americano, espresso, latte, cappuccino. They also have the Coke Freestyle machines in there as well. And they've been giving out a lot of cool merch or just like freebies, giveaway items and stuff like that. Swag. Yeah, I don't. I've lost my train of thought for the evening, but yeah, super excited to check that out once we get out to Disneyland later this year. Mike here is saying what you want in your life, which is a yacht club, Disney Vacation Club property. I do believe we see this continue in terms of a theme, and I think that was another question that I just sort of went by a second ago or saw someone ask, which was, you know, could we see, here it is, Keith asked, do you think they would take the 203 Grand Cal DVC hotel rooms and do a Grand Floridian type of flip and sell more points at the Grand Californian? I would be surprised out there because they just don't struggle to, I think, fill those rooms with general occupants. A lot of demand out there, which is why the prices are so high. Yeah. That and they're paying those taxes, but yeah, I think I'd be surprised to see it in California unless they sort of face that issue. But we know for a fact that Disney World is facing that issue with some of these deluxe properties. They are struggling to fill these deluxe hotel rooms, and it makes the most sense for them to put bodies in them to do this flip and put it into the Disney Vacation Club program. So I agree. Yacht Club, I think we will see this progression happen for a period of time. Yacht Club, I think Bay Lake Tower 2.0 is on the horizon. We will see them revisit the Reflection site at some point. I think all of these ideas are easy wins for Disney right now. Yeah,
and Disney World is offering upgrades to some people to move them into deluxe hotels or higher levels so that they can backfill those value hotels, because those are the ones that are selling. So they're trying to entice people personally, like contacting their travel agents, contacting them, not doing it as like a big discount, but like contacting people who are currently booked and trying to give them a pretty steep discount to move into a higher level hotel so that they can then sell those cheaper accommodations. And so this is, I think DVC is the answer to this issue that they have. And I think, we're just going to keep seeing them. They're just getting started, and we're going to see more of this flipping of existing hotel and maybe even, you know, some new builds, you know, the Reflection site, other locations. But on a different topic that we've not really discussed tonight, Emily asked, do we know if ROFR has been more active recently? And listen really closely when I tell you the number of contracts that have been ROFR'd in April. It's 0. So it is still sort of asleep at the wheel at the moment. The ROFR monster is sleeping, at least as far as what we see over at DVC Resale Market is concerned. But we have seen sort of a shift in, sellers and the number of contracts available on the market. We've definitely, I think, plateaued in terms of where that low price point has been for a lot of resorts. We'll see that in the reports that come out over on dvcresalemarket.com at the beginning of May. But I highly anticipate we'll see some upward trends this month, especially when it comes to Grand Californian. We mentioned once, we mentioned twice, we could say it a million times, but Grand Californian owners, if you are looking for some reason to sell your contract right now, now is the time. Prices have skyrocketed this week just because of the restrictions that have been announced for Disneyland Hotel, because of the transient tax issue, because of the annual dues. A lot of people that were like, yes, 100%, I'm buying Disneyland Hotel, are now sort of on the fence, sort of saying, I'm going to reconsider it. And almost like Amy and I did
several months ago.
We're winning.
Yeah, we decided to.
I'm so glad.
We decided to pull the trigger and get that Grand Californian contract. And I just want people to know that, Derek over at DVC Resale Market, great personal friend of ours. And it wouldn't be unless we bought that contract that we would be such good friends with Derek. And that's because of these type of deals that he throws out. It's he actually did just put in the chat a couple minutes ago, first person to reach out to him at DVC Resale Market to sell their Grand Cal contract will be his forever friend. I'm a little taken aback because I thought I was the forever friend, but I guess you're going to jump in line and move into first place above and beyond me. So thank you, Derek, as always. Derek at dvcresalemarket.com.
I can vouch for Derek. He's a great friend.
Great friend, a great lamp stealer, all around, just a wonderful, good guy. Let's see. Do we think DVC will ever offer a paid upgrade path for resale members to, I can't see because the camera's there, something about direct, easy money for Disney.
To become direct.
Yeah, to become direct. The rumor still is out there. We know that they were testing the waters for basically a paid perks program at one point that would be like a subscription-based thing. We've not heard about that for a period of time now. We've also gone from a period in which we had Bob Chapek and now we have Bob Iger. And so I think that's still in the back. Times are changing. And so they're just looking to make money where they can make money. And Troy says, any thoughts on the DVC Guardians of the Galaxy Screen and Scream event? They make these things so hard to pronounce. It looks amazing. And I think that if you are something that the only beef I still have about these events is they announce them too late.
It's May. Is it the beginning of May? In a few weeks?
I believe it's coming up very soon.
Yeah.
And it is a great opportunity if you've not bought tickets. It's a great, one night, Epcot, you're going to see the movie, or you can actually get a Fandango gift card, I believe it is, to watch the movie at a different time. But then you get that after hours access to the world. It's the World Discovery.
2 rides, yeah. So basically, Guardians, Cosmic Rewind, and Test Track. So those are the only 2 rides. But if you are someone that isn't at Epcot every weekend like we are, and you don't get to ride Cosmic Rewind all the time, this is a good price for an after hours event plus a movie that you get to ride Guardians. And I'm guessing it's going to be pretty limited in the capacity. So hopefully if you wanted to ride Guardians over and over, you could. Test Track, they're just throwing in another ride. I mean, it's nice to have something. Those are the only 2 rides though. So for us, we evaluated and looked at it and looked at the pricing. It was $89 plus tax plus gratuity, which made it around, someone who bought it, correct me, it was like $105 in some sense or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know what the gratuity is for. Is that for cast members or people serving food?
Maybe there's a buffet.
Does the movie theater serve things to your chairs? I don't know. If you find out, let us know.
Don't get excited about it though, because Lauren did verify in chat that it has sold out. So but yeah, good for the people that are doing it.
Yeah, and it's great to see these events pop up. And I think that they are, so I had a cast member, a member service cast member kind of say to me one time, the point of Moonlight Magic or the point of these little events is that it's exciting when it happens to be when your trip is, but you're not really supposed to book a special trip for it. Yeah. Now, that's not what our community does. Our community books trips to go and experience Moonlight Magic and these things that excite them. So for us, we always are we wish they would tell us sooner so we had time to make plans. But that's not DVC's frame of mind. That's not their perspective. Their perspective is, let's make these little pop-up events, and then the people that are there during this time will be excited by it, which I get that. But it's good to see them coming up. The Halloween one. Do you remember what that was called? That was cute.
Meet and Treat.
The Meet and Treat. That was a nice little event, free event for members.
Yep.
So, there's a mixture of paid ones and there's free ones sprinkled in there too. And honestly, Moonlight Magic is is the best it's been in a while. We have no complaints about that.
Fireworks are back. I'm expecting hopefully Phantasmic at the Hollywood Studios this year.
Phantasmic.
So I'm excited for that. But all in all, it has been a week for Disney Vacation Club, and we're not done with it quite yet. We are.
Lauren said the link for the Guardians, if that still works, she takes it back. It's not sold out.
Ooh,
Get your tickets while
you can. Jump into the chat, click on that link, and get your scream and screen. Is that it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Whoever comes up with these names needs to make them a little easier to pronounce.
Lauren's in there testing it for us, doing the real work.
Lauren's doing the real work. She's going to purchase tickets right now and make sure that we've got great coverage of the Screen and Scream event. Now I can say it. Look at that.
Yeah.
But there was a message that came by that I did want to just pull up real quick. Jojo said, Amy and Paul, congrats on the Run Disney 10-miler. Thank you so much, Jojo. The medal is back here somewhere on my medal rack on the wall, but it was Amy's first Run Disney event, and she is an addict now. She is fully addicted to Run Disney. It actually sparked an idea for a DVC fan show that we want to do coming up, which is Disney Vacation Club for Run Disney runners, because I think that is a very good match, and historically there has actually been some incentives way back in the day that were provided
weeks, where you got a guaranteed
for purchasing
bib.
Those guaranteed weeks and getting guaranteed bibs. So I think there's a huge conversation to have. We may actually have Lauren on for that conversation, because I know Lauren loves Run Disney events too.
Lauren is so fast.
Yes, she is super fast.
I would never be able to catch up to her.
Lauren, I apologize if this embarrasses you in any way, but I watched your times that you would post while you were pregnant, and I will never be that fast, and I'm okay with that. You are just a super duper fast runner, and I kudos to you. We
like tacos too much to
run
that fast.
That is a great that is a great answer. Speaking of tacos, we're going to the new restaurant at the
Rosa Mexicana
at
the Dolphin,
and
it looks fantastic.
Looks amazing.
Yeah, tomorrow, right? Yeah. And Narcoossee's on Saturday for Paul's birthday.
Narcoosse's on Saturday as well.
And that'll be our first time
We're
there.
doing a room tour of a studio, a refurbished, since we've been in them last, a refurbished studio, deluxe studio at the Grand Floridian is where we'll be. That'll be the first time that we've been in those rooms since they refurbished those rooms. So we'll definitely be filming a room tour of that.
Yes.
We have the footage from a room tour that we did for our 10-miler as well, which is a deluxe studio at Animal Kingdom Lodge Jumbo House, which was kind of a unique room. So be sure to watch out for that video coming up. As I mentioned before, tonight's live stream is taking place of our regular Monday show next week. So stay tuned for some of those room tours. We'll make sure we get those up next week as well. But we hope to get back in the studio next week or the week after that and get back to our regularly scheduled shows. But until that time, you're stuck with us, and we're going to bring you the news, whether you like it or not, and share as much information as we can, because I think that's what we both sort of, as former educators, pride ourselves in. We really love sharing knowledge with people, love just making sure that as much of the Disney Vacation Club base knows about what's going on with the product, knows about what's going on.
And I love this community because you guys are so well educated, and you take the time to learn and understand what you've purchased. And Disney Vacation Club has so many layers to it. Like, there's just so much to unpack and understand. And we learned a lot from you guys, so we really love that. But yeah, yep. I think DVC members are one of the most educated, Disney fan groups there are. So.
And know that personally, please don't blow us up by saying this, but please know that we are always here to help as well. We have many of you that reach out to us on Facebook, on Instagram, that email us, all of that stuff, asking just general questions about your membership, and we love it. We love being able to help you use your points or help you make those decisions throughout the purchase process. And we're also surrounded by an amazing team of people at the World of DVC, between Resale Market, Rental Store, Monera. We have so many people that if we don't have the answer to your question, we're going to be able to get it for you and make sure that you have all the information you need. But it's been a wild ride of a week for Disney Vacation Club. I'm excited. DVC, don't do this to me, but I wish every week was like this, because again, we're just getting back into like, I feel like we're pre-pandemic now, and it's back to the old norm of there's always something exciting about Disney Vacation Club going on, and something exciting.
Maybe once a month.
Maybe once a month, yeah. I do
Not
need
every week.
Not every week. I need a break a little bit, come up for air and all of that, but thank you all for joining us live tonight. We will put this up as a podcast, and this will live on the DVC Fan YouTube channel. If you are not a subscriber already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when we're going to go live next, or know when our next video goes up. Hit that like button as well. And I feel like I don't plug a couple of these often enough. DVCFan.com for all of your news. A lot of the articles that we shared tonight throughout the show are on DVCFan.com, and we share basically if I don't know a better way to put it. If DVC farts, we're gonna actually write about it. But also DVC Fan Facebook group on Facebook. We are approaching very rapidly 30,000 members in that group, which is just a crazy number to think about where we've come from. So please,
a lot of awesome,
knowledgeable,
helpful people in that group.
Yeah, so please, if you've not already joined that group, go ahead and do that. Share it with your friends if you've got DVC friends out there as well. Also, we are on Instagram, instagram.com/the DVC Show, I believe it is our Instagram. So we're over there to chat with as well. So if you're not following along in any of those places, in addition to these videos, please join us. And yeah, it's been a wild week, and thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will be back to you soon with more deep dives into all of this information, and we can't wait to just continue on this Disney Vacation Club journey with each of you. So thank you so much, and we will see you next time.